Hey everybody, Mr. Bast here again. I'm here to talk about ISO today and how you use ISO in different situations. So remember, ISO is the setting that we change in the camera where we're going to be adding light in or taking light away based on the number that we use. The lower number lets less light in for our exposure and a higher number lets in more light. So we'll switch over to our camera view here and talk about how we use ISO. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is when you'd use an ISO that's a little bit higher. So I want you to look at my settings right now. We're at a 1/2000 right now, and our ISO is roughly around 300. If I move that shutter speed to go faster, you're going to notice that something happens with the ISO. Right now it's on auto ISO, so it's going to compensate for my other settings. So remember, on our devices that we're using to take pictures here, the only thing we can change is the shutter speed, and then the ISO is changing as a result. So if I go for a slower shutter speed, you're going to start to notice ISO does something different. So the lowest the ISO can go on this phone is 22. So there's a direct relation between how fast I go on my shutter. So if I'm going really fast, you remember that's letting in very much light. The camera is compensating by increasing the ISO, so that way it can maintain how bright it thinks the picture should be. So right now this is in the shade in this woods. If I switch to going out to where there is a lot more sunlight, so it's still cloudy out here, you're going to notice that the ISO starts to go down. So if I point this directly up at the sky, you're going to see it goes all the way down to 22 again. So ISO changes based on the available light that you have to work with. So again, pointing into the shade here, that ISO is going to go way up. Now if I maintain the same shutter speed. Okay, so that's one of the first considerations that I want you to have, to understand that your available light is going to determine what you can do with your ISO. Higher ISOs result in a lower quality picture, but sometimes you have to have that lower quality to make the picture turn out the way that you want. So I've changed my lighting situation a lot here. I've gone indoors and I've found one of the darkest areas in my house. So this is the furnace room here. And I want you to notice how the shutter speed is still the same. It's 1/4000, but you'll notice that ISO has gone up to over 2000. And you can even see it in the preview of how the image is going to look. That ISO is really getting high and you can really see all the digital noise. So I think the highest ISO that we can get to with this phone is 2112. But if I lower that shutter speed down, you're going to start to see that quality of the image improve. So remember, our minimum handhold speed for the shutter is 1/60. So here we can get all the way down to 600 or roughly 700 ISO. So the way to lower your ISO if you're going indoors is to have that shutter speed set a bit slower, so that way you can have the ISO not be quite as high, because you're going to have a lower quality picture that way.